The rest of you, this was the second, or this is the exercise that I've just done, where I have fused the two colours together. You can write a note, colour fused, and I've sprinkled some sea salt on top of it. I'd like you to either use the image that I sent you, if you've managed to print it out. If not, you will have to make it up. But the image I sent you was this one here. Well, it's the same as what I've got down here, basically. It's just some tree trunks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tree trunks of varying widths, okay? And you do that with your brown. And if you want to add in any other colour to make it more interesting or closer to the picture that I sent you, by all means do. This has got a little bit of burnt sienna in it. So I'm going to do the repeat one on this far right-hand side. Right, so I'm just taking the brown, and I'm not going to pre-draw these trees. I'm just going to do it with my brush. So trees tend to, well, they don't tend to be dead upright. They tend to be, generally speaking, the trunk of the tree is thicker at the bottom than it is at the top. I'm using plenty of paint on my paper, so it's, you know, really quite wet, and I'm including a few branches. And then I'm going to do the next tree. And I'm just literally going to use my brush to draw these trees, okay? Have plenty of paint on the paper though. It shouldn't be at all dry looking. It needs to be very, very wet. And then turn your brush upside down, and using the end of your brush, dip it in the paint and draw with the end of your brush. And what you should get are some really tinsy-wincy little branches. It won't let you do thick ones. You can drag the paint across. I feel my brush is just as good, and by the time I've got a stick, it'll all be dry anyway. Right, now I would, if you've got your salt handy, while those trees are wet, I would sprinkle some salt on them.
I ask why the salt?
Why the salt? Because it makes a wonderful texture.
Okay.
And it's fun, basically. I don't think you'd ever be able to paint that texture. It does some wonderful things with the wet paint. What I'd like us to do in this one, a rectangle that's away from the wet ones, okay? I'd like you to just, first of all, paint blue as if you were doing a sky, and leave bits of the white paper coming through. Don't make it solid. It can be darker at the top and then get lighter as it goes down toward the bottom, or the other way around, whichever you like. And I would use this water, a combination of water and paint. So so you're going to leave little bits as though there were clouds there. Okay. Now, also, and I know Prue's done this, make a little wodge of paper towel and lift out some of the paint at the bottom of your, or the top, what will be on top of your cloud with your paper towel. So you're lifting, this is lifting out and blotting at the same time. Okay? Exercise I'd like us to do is the second one in those exercise, those printed out ones that I sent you, which looks like a bit of a brick wall. And I want you to draw a brick wall. If you've got some wax, and I hope you were able to get a bit of wax, I use cut up a tea light. And basically in this one here in the middle, or maybe not, yeah, in this one here, I'm going to draw a bit of a brick wall based on that little image that I sent you. So I'm actually going to draw it with the wax. It only needs to be, you know, maybe in places down the wall. You might do some vertical lines. You won't be able to see it, so just imagine what you can see. Leave it at that. Okay. Ugh, it's horrible, this candle. Okay. Don't worry about the fact you can't see it. And then with the same blue, starting from the top, because you're going to, this is where you're beginning to create a little image of a bit of sky, and you can dilute it if you want to make it paler. Take it down to where the wax is, and then stop. Now we're going to go back to the one we did where we lifted a bit out, because it should be almost ready to paint on. It's not dead wet, not dead dry, not too wet. So go back into your brown and draw some tree shapes over the top of this rectangle here where we've got the clouds and a bit of sky. You can do different trees or the same trees. It may run because the paint is wet underneath. Don't worry about that. I think that's all right. That happens. Mine's running a lot. And while that's drying a bit, go back here to where your wall image is, and we'll paint something to represent the foreground. And this is where you can bring in a bit of your yellow ochre or raw sienna if you've got some. So the foreground could be, I think there's sort of like some grasses in front of the wall. So if you just imagine that's what's going to go down the front here. And just draw it with the tip of your brush, okay? Already it's going over that waxy bit. And then we'll start to do bits of the wall. Now, I would suggest we need a little bit of lichen or green to the wall. So could you make up a bit of green with your, if you've got your Oreo in yellow, a bit of that, which is the bright yellow, and a bit of, tiny bit of ultramarine will make a nice green quite quickly. So I'm just putting some green on this wall, okay? And what you should see is where the candle obviously is, it's resisting the paint. Okay, we'll let that dry for a bit. Okay, if we go back to this one over here, I don't know if yours is dry. I think mine is dry enough. I hope so. I'm going to go back in with my dark brown, and I'm going to develop the darks on these trees. I'm also going to use a bit more Prussian blue, so I'll leave it to you to mix the colour as you need it. My paint's still very wet. And again, I'm going to do this business of dragging it across to make the branches. You can use this on the next one where the wall is. You can actually, the grass is down the bottom. You could actually use the end of your brush for that as well, or you can use the tip of your brush, whichever you prefer. Just see what effect it has.
Breakneck speed, eh, Sue?
Breakneck speed, yeah, sorry. We are, well, I'm just, basically, this is just play. So these are, just to summarize, these are some of the techniques you can use in landscape painting, okay? This is the point of showing you this.